It's time for another beer review with me, Owen, at the Blue Trouser Brewery, and I'm going to be bringing you a beer review for a gentleman, and I say gentleman loosely, a chap I've grown to know and love of recent months. It's my podcasting fellow, Chris Millington, who very kindly sent me some beer mail, I think before Christmas, so apologies, Chris. I have drunk one of them, which I think I even drank with you whilst chatting maybe on the podcast, which was your amber beer. But I have two other beers. Unfortunately, Chris isn't a big fan of labels. He's more of a substance over style man. He wants to get this stuff in the post, and I am not going to complain. So I've got this one, which actually I think was one of my old bottles, and it says Verdant Competition Beer on it. So this is Hokum Stomp. So I'm going to know very little about these beers, so I'm just going to have to take them at face value. It's Hokum Stomp, and I'm fairly certain that this is an Indian Pale Lager. So I'm going to crack this one first. Oh, little hiss. Let's get this poured. Whoa, it's lively, which is interesting because I know it is off the keg, and it's pouring a nice light orange colour. Now, that, give you a little focus in. That's a pretty good looking beer there, Chris. Yeah, so that is a nice, although it's reasonably dark in here, that is a nice, very light copper colour. It's got a really good, nice tight white dense head. So I'm fairly certain this is the Indian Pale Lager, and I apologise to you, Chris, because I have a slightly blocked nose this evening. So my description may not be quite up there, but what am I getting? I'm definitely getting orange. And quite a bright orange too. Quite zesty, a zesty orange, but like a bright, almost juicy zesty orange. Almost like an orange Calippo, like that sort of thing going on. So I'm going to dive in. That's about all I'm getting. So cheers, Chris. Well, it's crisp. It's got, it's pretty dry. It finishes quite dry. It's got a crisp note to the end. It's certainly refreshing. I'm not picking up any really obvious fermentation flaws in there. It's got, the bitterness is really reasonably subdued. It's quite, you notice the bitterness as it enters your mouth. And then it dies away. It just sort of fades off quite quickly, and then it's almost gone by the end of it, sort of leaving you just with this quite almost like just like a refreshing finish to it, and it's really pleasant. It's very drinkable. Makes you want to go back for another sip, which is always a bonus. Oh. Problem with these beer reviews is you don't have to throw the beer down your throat. It's very, the carbonation's up there. It's quite effervescent, and you do get some like quite bold malt through the middle. The body is low to medium, I would say. Sort of adding to that sort of light and refreshing and quite crisp vibe going on, which you would expect. I'm not picking up on lots of the obvious lager esters. So I don't know whether Chris might have fermented this with some kind of quake, possibly, and this is actually a pseudo lager. I'm not really getting much in the way of kind of sulphury, slight sulphur thing that you often get with a lager yeast. But then in the fact that it's an Indian pale lager, you're not getting necessarily like the noble hop spiciness or the noble hop vibe that you expect and associate with a lager, because this is using, IPA style hops, and probably American IPA style hops rather than English IPA hops. If I know Chris, I reckon there might be a little bit of Vienna in there, because you do get a kind of bready, like slight toastiness through the middle. That's that kind of fairly robust kind of malt thing going on. To be honest, the hop level is way off the mark really for an IPL. I would expect it to be a lot more aromatic, a lot more flavoursome in terms of hop profile. But that said, he sent these to me before Christmas. It's now the beginning of February. I think he might well have had it on keg for quite a while before he bottled me one as well. And I do recall him kind of saying that perhaps this IPL wasn't quite as good as some of the ones he'd made in the past. So I apologise, Chris, if I'm reviewing a beer that you weren't 100% happy about, but I'm sure you understand, and perhaps you'll have to send me another one that is up to your standards. But even so, this is far from being an unpleasant drink. So thank you again. I'm going to go back and finish it all. That's a good brew. So I didn't talk much about the clarity. It had a little haze to it, a little chill haze, I think. Yeah, certainly having poured the last part of the beer there, that's quite a bit cloudier. Yeah, very good. So it's on to the second brew, which is the Hokum Stomp. Now, this is a recipe that we know and love. Been reviewed many times, brewed many times. but it is an absolute corker. So for anyone that is unfamiliar with this beer, the actual original, this is a clone, a tribute. This is a beer from Daya. Daya are a brewery in Cheltenham, in the UK, and they generally specialise in quite hazy pales, hazy IPAs, double IPAs, but they also make Hokum Stomp, which is a porter, and it's quite a strong porter. I think it comes in at sort of mid 6%. It's got a crazy grain bill. I think there's about 7 malts in there. Personally, I think it's probably erring more on the side of stout than porter, but let's not get into that debate. And they released I'm fairly certain the recipe had been documented in the Camera Essential Homebrew book. I think yes, it is in there. So it has been brewed quite a bit at homebrew level. So it's a porter with primarily Bramling Cross hops, but I think from memory, Chris didn't use Bramling Cross. I'm not sure what he did use. So, what am I getting on the nose? So, my nose is fucked. But I'm getting some dark fruit, cherry, chocolate notes. And that's about it. Sadly. Not the best time for doing a beer review. It's Monday night. I was bored. Didn't have anything else to do. So I thought, fuck it. Have a couple of beers. Record a beer review. So what it lacks in aroma, primarily because of this, it makes up for in flavour. There's some really robust chocolate flavours in there, just dark chocolate, from start to finish. I'm getting quite a long, lingering finish on that dark chocolate note. It just keeps going. But not in a unpleasant way. Yeah, that's pretty tasty. As you'd expect, this is a reasonably well-bodied beer. For the ABV, I think it's technically I'm not sure whether it's an oatmeal porter. Pretty sure it's an oatmeal porter. It's probably not quite as silky as I might expect, but I think the carbonation is quite high for the style. This is a beer that should have a big, solid, thick, creamy white head on the top. It's coming back now. I just knock a bit of the carbonation out, see how it is. It should pour with a nice thick, tight white, or tight off-white tan head. What the fuck am I talking about? in my memory, I think it just should be a lot creamier. And just a silkier body on it. So I'm not sure if it just needs a boost in the oat department. But otherwise, you know, it is an enjoyable beer. Complex flavours of chocolate in there. It's just layer on layer, really. It's the malt bill of this beer is just expertly refined, and I think there's pale chocolate in there. There's chocolate. There is some crystal malts, and it adds to a very beautifully complex yet very drinkable porter. And I think, Chris, you've really nailed that in terms of the malt complexity of that beer. Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of things that perhaps could be improved. I think, you know, which I've mentioned already, but otherwise, you know, that's a stellar example, I would say, at the homebrew level. So I shall sign off and say thank you very much, Chris, for sending me these beers. I'll look forward to drinking many more, because I know you're going to send some more to me. And I love you, brother, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, bud.